Thanks, Alex. Very, very interesting finale. We'll deal with the pace a little bit later on. Let's go through the profiles of the horses. Number 1, Mixed Spirit. Dara Keenan for Conrad Allen. He's gone close over this course and distance before, probably understating how close he was to winning here last time. A nose by Universal Grace. It was only on the line where he wasn't in front of the winner. That was a second run after a 2-month break, and the return had been a good third at Southwell. And I thought he should be prominent or even leading from stall 1. And his claims they're glaringly obvious as the bell goes. Mixed Spirit off a £2 higher mark. Behind is Josie's Kid, number 4, who's in the grey rug. Tommy Jakes claiming 7 for Alice Haynes. It's led to good effect at Wolverhampton on the penultimate start. Apologies, jockey change. It is Kieran O'Neill who now takes the ride, which that adds a different dimension to this, because taking 7 off his back looked like it was not a bad move, considering the form that Josie's Kid was in. He took a lead last time. He came to win his race only to get caught close home by Let's Go Hugo, who was a well-handicapped horse, and I think that's why initially they were looking to claim off. He has a good chance if he can settle, I thought. It'll be interesting to see how exactly he goes in the run from stall 6, because there'll be pace outside courtesy of Jacquelina as well. Danny Muscat's already told you, if you watch the winning interview, that the plan is to go forward with Jacquelina and try and get a spot. Right in front of us, number 2. This is So Sleepy, and normally, especially given what she did last time, you'd be rubbing your hands together at the prospect of a good pace for her to aim at. So smooth her victory that she was eased down by the line. Eased down in a 5-furlong race suggests that she has bags in hand. And Connections up until that point, they must have been cursing their luck on penultimate start at Lingfield, where she was getting the perfect setup only to be denied a clear run. It has to be a real question about the horses who have tried to come from off the pace tonight. Generally, you've wanted to be on the speed, even when it looks like there's been an abundance of pace to bring horses into it. And that's the question mark about So Sleepy. Callum Shepherd up, the tongue tie remaining on. Even so, she'll be doing her best work late, but that certainly adds a new dimension onto this. Behind, number 5, that's Due Date, Marco Ghiani for Charlie Wallace. New combo of headgear, first time tongue tie, first time visor, to try and buck his ideas up, and they really do need to make a big impression on him. His 2 runs for Charlie, we've seen him last both times. He'll find his level at some point. This is probably a struggle, the form that he's in. And we've got one more to have a quick look at. Jacquelina's already headed out. She's in great form. Her claims are pretty obvious as well. Just hearing from Phil McEntee that his daughter Grace will be back from her stint in America. She was recently in the Winners' Enclosure at Mountaineer Park as well. So welcome back to Grace from next week. Let's have a look at Conquest of Power on the far side. Aidan Keeley for Mark Usher. No one wanted him ahead of his novice win at 66-1 in June 2022. That was a Sandown. He showed he's got ability there. He's only shown anything like that a couple of times since. A third at Chepstow soft ground later that year. 2 runs since resuming this month after a year off. It's been pretty slow progress, and I think he's one to put on your notebook. I think he'll find a race this winter, but Alex, I'm not sure it'll be in this contest. Where would you be siding in a race that initially So Sleepy was installed as a well-backed favourite, but the way the track's been playing and the hold-up tactics they've employed the last twice, the market has reacted to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this, well, second-guessing jockeys, that is a business that's not easy to succeed in, but it does look on paper an easy race to read tactically. We'll come back to that in due course, famous last words. But yeah, So Sleepy usually likes to take a lead, usually sits chilly. Due Date and Conquest of Power usually do the same, whereas Jacquelina, Josie's Kid and Mixed Spirit can all go forward, if not making the running, they have done, or sitting handy, which they have done. Draw 1 for Mixed Spirit, 6 and 7 for Josie's Kid and Jacquelina, whether that figures into your calculations. So you never know, and sometimes it can be the double bluff, can't it? There was a race at Cheltenham earlier on today that looked like it was going to be an absolute burn-up and didn't turn out that way, so we shall see. But certainly the tactics that have been employed before seem clear-cut for all of the runners.
It's interesting, this race, because the theme of the night has not only been the horses up with the pace, it's horses drawn wide who've got across from the pace, and that's exactly what Josie's Kid in 6 and Jacquelina in 7 are going to have to do, with Mixed Spirit in 1, who you would think would want to hold that position to some respect, whether that's in front or just on the shoulder of the leaders. And if that's the case, and some of the others don't change tactics because of what we've seen in the previous 7 races, then it's pretty straightforward. And I think Josie's Kid, who's the one who comes into it after just 7 days after a run, Jacquelina's 114, so coming from a pretty long break, albeit Jacquelina didn't run at all badly back from a break in February, but Josie's Kid ran without the cheek pieces last time. Back on today, the cheek pieces were on when Josie's Kid won at Wolverhampton in the summer. You'd have think that was a really good return to action last time. So, given the way the track's riding, if he gets a decent pitch, then I think he's going to be hard to beat.
So Sleepy's a good traveller, though, isn't she?
Yeah, but does seem to need to come from off the pace. Not one that they can switch tactics with, and that, for me, puts me off big time.
Rain teeming down on a night where the times have been pretty quick, and we've had 3 front runners and 1 horse who sat second, so it has been a key indicator throughout the night, but it's pretty tight here, almost joint favourites. Mixed Spirit and So Sleepy. Looks like they're just about to lead forward here. A minute to go in the final race. So Jacquelina, Josie's Kid, Mixed Spirit. Who's going to lead? Will that be a case of she who leads wins? We're about to find out, Anthony.
Certainly are, Alex. That shot probably tells you everything you need to know about conditions at the moment. Very, very rainy. Very quite miserable, to be honest, for the last. My cameraman Paul has ducked for cover as the horses start to load up. Thought Mixed Spirit would at least be in the lead. So Sleepy is a hostage to fortune in this kind of scenario. You do have to be mindful of how the track has been playing. But as you mentioned, Alex, a very smooth traveller, and if she can pick her way throughout the race and manage to get the breaks, then she will be a formidable opponent. But she was much shorter earlier, when it was quite clear that there was going to be a little bit of pace on to bring her into it, and so far that hasn't worked out for the meeting. Josie's Kid is solid, has shown more than enough form to suggest she can win. Jacquelina has been solid all summer, and to her credit, she's just a slight concern from Store 7, and whether she'll manage to get an uncontested lead, which it looks quite doubtful, to be honest. It'll be hard to see exactly her getting a slow lead, an uncontested lead at least. Everything is in line for Mixed Spirit for a big run, but a fast start for all of these will be crucial, bar So Sleepy, you would imagine probably won't deviate too far from tactics as well. Got 1 more to go forward, or a couple more to go forward. Conquest of Power will be one of them, and Due Date looks like will be the second last. So for the final time this evening, for the 8th and final time, we hand up to the commentary box with our thanks to Alex Fussey.
Very much intervention would be an understatement right now. That's it, ready. They're off. Sprinting away over 5 for the November Fireworks Spectacular at CCR Handicap Stakes. On the outer, Jacquelina is driving forwards. There is a mad dash for the early lead. Mixed Spirit got a good beginning. Josie's Kid is also being hustled along. Due Dates in between rivals. Off the pace, but in touch, So Sleepy. Off his feet at the back is Conquest of Power. Jacquelina won the burn-up for the lead. She got over in advance of Mixed Spirit, who's had to go second, but is now quite keen. On their outer is Josie's Kid up the inside, So Sleepy has made good ground there very swiftly. Due Date's now out of it by the looks of it, and Conquest of Power at the back. Levelling for the final furlong and a half. Jacquelina in front with Mixed Spirit travelling up very sweetly to the left-hand side. In behind them, So Sleepy is now driven along. Then Josie's Kid and Conquest of Power, who tries to run on, but heading towards the final 150 yards. Mixed Spirit tanked through this and will win it. beats Conquest of Power in second, Josie's Kid in third, then So Sleepy, Jacquelina, and finally Jude Eights.
Mixed Spirit it is, wins it quite comfortably in the end, and he has tanked through that race, beating Conquest of Power and Josie's Kid. So Sleepy is next. Free going Jacquelina, my goodness me. Dinner was in the oven, wasn't it? And Jude last of all. Well, the winner, 13-8 favourite, Mixed Spirit, and has cruised through that contest to win quite convincingly. And I had a pace to aim at, that's for sure, Steve.
It just went flat out from the start. You can imagine the jockeys all wanted to be somewhere near, and that would have helped So Sleepy, but even with that setup, So Sleepy couldn't take advantage because the track is just riding to suit them, and Mixed Spirit, even though drawn one, seemed to come quite wide off the turn and what have you. So from the start they all went. Josie's Kid couldn't go the pace early on for a horse that does like to run prominently, and you see here Mixed Spirit is on the bridle on the inside. Jacqueline is setting a scorching pace, and that would have suited So Sleepy out there in the yellow colours in last but one, but the track is just riding to suit the horses up front, and that's exactly where Jacquelina is after a break, and in her slipstream is Mixed Spirit, who's just come onto off the rail onto the shoulder, travelling really well, even on that hot pace, is able to travel into the race, and then it's game over from there because everything is going to plan for Darragh Keenan.
Tell you what, I bet you he works way better than a 60 horse or 64 what he is, because the speed Jacquelina went there and he was still racing keenly. I mean, they almost couldn't go quick enough for him. He tanked through that race. I bet he works well.
You would imagine so, wouldn't you? He has nothing has got him off there. He's nothing to travel better than Mixed Spirit. He's just, look at him in the middle of the course there. He's just having to be nudged along, and yeah, it's
just shows you, it tells you about the track, doesn't it? Because I mean, Jacquelina seemingly has gone a mental gallop. He's raced keenly behind that gallop, and he's still managed to bolt up. Yeah,
there's been the horses that have come from further back than front rank tonight. There's been reasons why they've done that, i.e. horses at the front not looking the most willing, or the way things have panned out, and it just points to that first performance in our